Welcome to my channel. I'm just a jealous guy. Before what I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to discuss two videos that Brian Smith put up. The first video is titled G D Mead Encouraging Paedophilia or Just Condoning It? ? This was uploaded on December 14, 2021. So the second video was more recent and just before he went to private, and it was titled Jerfy the Pedo ... and uploaded on the 17th of July 2023. So before I start this video, I'll just say the usual precursor that I in no way condone nor sympathetic in any way to anyone that abuses children, including paedophilia, and I do condemn any person that engages in that act. So before I get into this, the two videos is that one, and this one. So let's get into it. Both of these videos are on the same topic. They both talk about exactly the same matter and both play the same short 15-second audio clip of Jeff Mead. So they're basically a copy and paste one from the other. Now, to start off, we'll just break it down in parts. And the first part of this, what the clip is about. So the clip itself relates to a American expat that's accused of having a relationship with a 15-year-old girl, and basically Jeff Mead's defending that expat. Jeff Mead was saying, and I must say that I believe Jeff was wrong in his, in fact, in what he was saying, but he believed he was correct at the time, and that the law in the Philippines was age of consent was 12 years old. This person had had a relationship with a 15-year-old, and that so by that this person had not committed an offence, and therefore under the law of the Philippines he had done nothing wrong. No way did he condone the behaviour nor approve of the behaviour, but now Jeff Mead was correct in saying that the age of consent in the Philippines was 12 years old. At the time this was said, that is correct. But that is for Filipinos. As in the Western world and many other countries, these laws have a personal responsibility clause. So anyone that is in person of responsibility, school teacher, doctor, headmaster of a school, student guidance counsellor, police officer, step parent, are all persons that have a responsibility for that child or an influence on that child. Now, in the Philippines, a foreigner is included in that, so it's 18 years old. So, not saying the person committed the offence, but if the allegation was true, yes, he probably committed an offence in the Philippines. But like I said, I believe at the time Jeff Mead 100% believed what he was saying was correct. Everyone's allowed to be incorrect or wrong at some stage, and that's what he was basing his comment on. So, and no time did he encourage paedophilia, or no time did he encourage anyone to come to the Philippines to engage in that behaviour. So, second part of this is, where did this clip come from? The clip itself is about 15 seconds long. So, where did it come from? Well, Brian Smith doesn't know where it come from, because he admits it in both the videos. He says, I don't know where this clip has come from, and I don't give a shit, because I'm not going to go and try and find out. I'm not going to go watch any of his videos to try and find out where it's from. So he's prepared to take 15 seconds of a clip as being absolute. So where did it come from? Where did Brian get it from? He got it from Gary Martin's channel, which in itself says a bit about credibility. So the clip's about 15 seconds in duration. 15 seconds. And where did it come from? I know where it came from, because I remember listening to it at the time. I would say, so Brian Smith, listening to this, had no idea of what was said before or after, and had no idea of the context it was set in. And I would say 100% of Brian Smith's brown-lipped sycophants, who wouldn't have a clue where this clip come from also. So they're willing to make a judgment of a person. If you look at the comments on these videos, some of them are pretty disgusting. So they're willing to make a judgment of a person on Brian Smith's say-so on a 15-second clip, which says a lot that these people just can't think for themselves. They just follow what Brian Smith says. So the main crux of the whole of these videos is Brian Smith saying Jeff Mead made this comment. He's never walked back the comments, and he's never made any sort of caveat before or after the comments in any way or form. So if he doesn't know where this video or this clip, this audio clip, 15 seconds come from, how does he know what Jeff Mead said before or what Jeff Mead said after, or at any other time? Because he doesn't watch Jeff Mead's videos, remember? So Brian Smith has based these two videos on the fact that Jeff Mead said these comments in this 15-second clip and never walked them back at any time or made any caveat to say that he did not believe or he condemned that behaviour. So it's a lie, because Brian Smith doesn't know whether Jeff Mead did or he didn't, but he's making it out to be a fact. And so he doesn't know what he's saying is true, so it must be a lie. So he's based these two videos on someone's reputation, on a lie, and something he knows absolutely nothing about, saying that what he said is true. So again, I'd say, how does Brian Smith know that Jeff Mead has never walked it back? This video, as I said, is 15 seconds long. So, and he continues in these videos over and over to talk about Jeff Mead not walking them back. So he's made no effort to find out. So he's too fat and lazy to get off his ass to go and do some research to find out where this come from. So he's prepared just to put a 15-second clip on the internet and treat it as true. It's like a trashy news media where they put about this much of an incident on the news, which suits their narrative. But if you actually looked at the whole scenario, then it would paint a different picture. That's what basically is happening. So he doesn't know where it came from. He doesn't make any effort to find out where it's come from. But he's prepared to say that it's true, that Jeff Mead never made these caveats or anything. So that makes his comments reckless, defamatory, slanderous, and bullshit. And which doesn't surprise me, because he's a habitual liar, and that's been proved numerous times that he tells lies. You know, like how much experience he's got in farming back in the US, which has been proved that he knows jack. So he likes to give this perception, which is all false. So the comments are nothing but to excite his clueless, sponge-headed followers that take everything he says as being true and to the fact. None of them are independent thinkers, because if they were, they wouldn't be following him. But they're clueless, sheep, dumb followers. So I know where the audio come from. It came from a video, actually a live stream, which was several hours long. So the clip is 15 seconds, and it came from a live stream that was several hours long. So I've worked out that this 15-second clip from a live stream that's several hours long is approximately 0.0003963% in duration of the full duration of the live stream. So it's nothing. Absolute nothing, not even worth mentioning in context to the whole live stream. So there must have been plenty of other conversation and topics spoken in the rest of that time. Now, how does Brian Smith know that there was never any condemnation of this topic during the live stream? He can't. He doesn't. He's got no idea, because he doesn't know where it came from. So he doesn't know what preceded this 15-second clip. He doesn't know what followed it. And he doesn't know the full context of that it was said. So doing that, like I said, he's made up his basis for these two videos. He's made it up. They're based on nothing, these two videos. A lie from Brian Smith. So okay, so we've said what the video was, the clip was about. We've said what the where it came from. So what was that conversation about, or who was it about? The conversation was about Philip Rosito. Yes, the same Philip Rosito that Brian Smith visited in Davao just recently on his trip, on his holiday, went drinking with, had breakfast with, had a leisurely stroll around the compound with, stayed with, lived with. There are allegations and accusations, and I must stress, he's never been charged with anything. The allegations and accusations at the time that Rosito had had a relationship with a 15-year-old girl. And there were some photos floating around the internet of that. So, what sparked this conversation? It was in the video clip. Well, to my knowledge, Philip Rosito is no friend of Jeff Mead, and he is a friend of Brian Smith. So, Jeff Mead was actually defending Philip Rosito in this clip. So, he was defending Brian Smith's mate, friend, buddy, which he didn't have to do. He could have turned it the other way around and said, look at this disgusting behaviour from Rosito, and his friends with Brian Smith, so look at the people that Brian Smith hang out with. But Jeff Mead didn't do that. So Jeff Mead was actually being fair to Brian Smith with this clip. So Brian Smith bringing out what Jeff Mead said just shows the fairness of Jeff Mead, because Brian Smith never defended him. Brian Smith never defended him once. And it was probably wouldn't even expect Jeff Mead would defend him, but he did, because Jeff Mead was fair. That's where this all came from. And Jeff Mead probably knew he'd probably get a bit of flack from it, so he stuck his neck out for one of Brian Smith's friends. So Jeff Mead defended Brian Smith's friend when Brian Smith wouldn't even do that. So I'll again reiterate, Jeff's comments at the time he believed were correct on what he knew, but my opinion is that he was wrong, in fact, in what he was saying. So let's do a 180 degree turn. Flip the coin, you might say, and look at the other side of it. Well, just to go back, Brian Smith painted Jeff Mead out to be a pedophile on a 15 second audio clip that he played, not knowing where it came from, not knowing what happened around that clip, but he was prepared to call Jeff Mead a pedo and a pervert, which he did, and all of Jeff Mead's followers. So, but we'll do a turnaround here, and we'll look at Brian Smith, and we'll look at Brian Smith since he's been in the Philippines. No, we'll go back before the Philippines. Brian Smith was an ice cream man for 31, 32 years, or whatever he claims to be. Now, even Brian Smith said this, that one of the reasons about the ice cream business was that people had a perception about ice cream men. Whether it's true, whether it's not, there's a perception about ice cream men and the fact of for their intentions of why they're ice cream men, being most of their customers are children. We'll just say that. So I'm not making any accusations or anything, but that is, Brian Smith even said that in one video, that there was this speculation or belief that ice cream men had dishonest intentions for doing that business. And so let's go back. Now we're in the Philippines. Even before actually the Philippines, who does he friend up with? His original mate and mentor, Tintin. Now, no one can say that Tintin hasn't been without his allegations and accusations about hanging around with children, having children at his house, unaccompanied saying he's got an adopted daughter when the daughter's not adopted, even to the point where I believe he took some children to a resort unaccompanied, was swimming in the pool, and someone rang the PNP who attended and spoke to him in regards to it. So Tintin got a bit of a reputation. I've never heard Brian Smith condemn any of his behaviour. Not even to say, I don't believe it's true, but that behaviour is disgusting and I condemn it in every manner. He's never said that, has he? So he's never put any caveat or condemnation on that behaviour. So does he condone the behaviour? Some would say yes. Now, when he first went to the Philippines, he was friends with Blind Owl, Dan. And I'm not making any accusations against Dan or anything, but I did see a video long time back where Dan was with another foreigner outside a school, and they were watching the children or the kids from the school walking past in uniform and making comments about them, which at the time I thought wasn't really appropriate. But this was the sort of person Brian was friends with when he first came to the Philippines. I'm not saying Dan's done anything wrong, and I'm not saying Brian knew about that, but he was friends with Dan, and that's just more fuel to the fire here. So who else has been friends with? There was Lester. Now, there's been accusations and allegations in regards to Lester and some relationships he had with, let's say, younger women. And there was allegations and accusations that he even started his relationship with Chat before she was 18. Now, did Brian Smith ever condemn that behaviour? Did he make any caveats, as he likes to call it, about that behaviour in regards to Lester? He could have said, I don't believe the accusations, but I totally condemn that behaviour. But he didn't. I don't think he's ever done it. So the way his perception is given of Jeff Mead, is he encouraging paedophilia? Is he encouraging people to come to the Philippines and seek out minors? One could say he is. So there was Lester. And you've got to think, Tintin was a long-term friend of Brian. Lester was a long-term friend. Not friends anymore, but they were. Then there's Philip Rosito, who's been friends with for some time, still is best buddies, as we saw in his videos. And I've pictured out the allegations and that Philip Rosito made against Philip. And again, I must point out he was never charged with anything, that I know of anyway. He was never charged with anything. And but there were the accusations and there were the allegations. Did Brian Smith ever say anything that, well, he didn't defend Philip Rosito, so he never said, I don't believe the allegations to be untrue, because he never defended him in any way. Jeff Mead did, though. Jeff Mead did defend him. But Brian Smith never condemned that behaviour in any way. He could have said, I don't believe it's true, and until there's evidence, I'll continue to not believe that it's true, but I condemn that behaviour. Didn't put any caveats on that, did he? Didn't put any caveats before or after or during or anything else. So he never did that. So again, using his thought patterns for Jeff Mead, is he encouraging pedophilia? Is he encouraging people to come to the Philippines to seek out minors? Again, I'm not saying Philip Rosito did anything wrong. I'm just saying the content or what was behind these allegations, the accusations of having a relationship with a minor. Brian Smith never condemned any of those, any of that behaviour. So then there's Gary Martin. Well, Gary has his, I believe it's his criminal record, because I think he even admitted that it was his at one stage. He did deny it, but I think he ended up admitting in the end. But on his record is being in the pokey for domestic violence matters. Now, not child abuse, not that I know of, but domestic violence. I don't even know if it's domestic violence against women. Probably is, because most of it going on, most percentage of domestic violence is men against women, but can be other people. But doesn't matter whether it's against women or not. I've never heard Brian Smith come out and say, I condemn domestic violence. He's made no caveats that, look, Gary Martin might have been convicted of domestic violence. I do not condone that behaviour in any way. I condemn that behaviour. I think that behaviour is disgusting. He's never said that. So does he encourage domestic violence? Is he, by not saying anything, is he encouraging, saying it's all right, encourages it? One could say yes on his thinking in these two videos. But there's also a video of Gary Martin, an audio clip again. Well, it's an audio clip of Gary Martin saying that black women should be raped. Has Brian Smith ever condemned that? Has he ever condemned that behaviour? Put a caveat on when he talks about Gary Martin that he doesn't agree with that behaviour? No. So does he encourage it? Is that encouraging it by not putting a caveat on it? One might say it is. He might approve that behaviour, one might say. So does, there was also, there's been other things that come out about Gary Martin. Brian Smith's never condemned condemned the behaviour. He actually encourages people to go watch Gary Martin. He encourages people to go and, he did a video encouraging people to go and subscribe to Gary Martin to get him monetised. That's not condemning any of his behaviour. That's actually encouraging it, isn't it? Encouraging people to go and watch him. So, Gary Martin's daughter apparently even said that Gary Martin has been or wants to go to the Philippines for the young women. Brian Smith never condemned that. Never said, I think that's dreadful behaviour. Never. So is that condoning that behaviour? And so Brian doesn't condone Gary's behaviour. He actually encourages people to go and watch him. So there you go. Then there's Uncle Rob. Well, this is not an accusation or an allegation. It's true that Robert Settles, Robbie, sends Marisol and Brian money and gifts and is a paid up member to his channel. And they send photos of their young child to him. They don't know who he is. He's a person on the internet. They've never met him, don't know who he is, but they're prepared to send a photo of their child to a person they believe is someone named Robert Settles, and call him Uncle Rob. Is that appropriate behaviour? I don't know what's worse. Paying money to get photos of a child, or paying money and getting photos of a child, or sending your child's photo to someone that pays you money. They must approve of that behaviour because they do it. It's all on the internet. I don't remember any talk of Jeff Mead sending photos of his grandkids or anything to any of his supporters. What about the behaviour of being in possession of a naked photo of a Filipina and sending that photograph to people without the consent of that person? Is that appropriate behaviour? People that are aware of the incident will know what I'm talking about. Maybe Brian's supporters could ask Marisol if that's appropriate behaviour. It's actually illegal sending naked photos of another person without their consent. It's an offence in the Philippines, punishable by imprisonment. Is that appropriate behaviour? Well, it wouldn't be if it's an offence, is it? And then there's old Flip-Flop Dave Tilapia. The comments he made about the mother of Brian's firstborn son, not Charlie, because the ones that don't know, Brian had an affair, cheated on Marisol and ended up with a child. That's the firstborn son. And if you believe he didn't cheat, then go back to one of my videos where I've shown that he did. And actually cheated twice on Marisol. So is that appropriate behaviour for a family Christian man that's not only a Christian in practice but spirit? Is that appropriate behaviour for a Christian person? No. But get back to Dave's comments. And everyone knows what Dave said. It's been on the internet. So I'm not going to repeat the comments. But Brian Smith, crickets, didn't condemn those comments. Didn't tell Dave to shovel sand up his ass because he's still best mates with him. So then, is it appropriate not to pay the child support that you promised to pay for your first child? Brian Smith even admitted he wasn't paying the full amount that he'd promised to pay because of no budget. People that say they're in the know, have said that it went down to paying nothing, and probably still is paying nothing. Brian Smith's never denied that. He's never come out and said, I do pay my child support and here's the payments. He's never denied it, so maybe it's true. So is that appropriate to neglect your child? It doesn't. It's like the child doesn't even exist. Has no contact with him as far as everyone knows. Brian can come out and say, yes, I do, and here's the proof, and here's the presents I send him on his birthday and Christmas. Crickets. Is that appropriate? Well, it's actually an offence in the Philippines not to pay child support, and the mother can take him to court. And if I'm not mistaken, it comes under the Violence Against Women and Children Act. So, and it's called financial, it comes under financial abuse. So it comes under, it's domestic violence, basically. It's an act against domestic violence. So maybe that's why he has sympathy for Gary Martin. But so by not paying your child support, it's abuse against the child. So it's child abuse. But it's also abuse against the mother, because that mother has to support the child. So pedophilia is child abuse. So if that's child abuse and not paying your child support's child abuse, I'm not making any correlation at all, but people can make their own mind up. You know, Brian Smith can make up bullshit, so anyone else can against Brian Smith. That's fair game, isn't it? Isn't it fair game that if he can lie and tell bullshit and call someone a pedophile, that people can... And it's not even lies or bullshit that I'm saying. It's whether you want to make the correlation. The child support is child abuse, not paying it. And pedophilia is child abuse. So, let's get back to what I started talking about and have a look at look at the evidence that Brian Smith produced against Jeff Mead. A little tiny 15-second clip of a live stream, and what did I say? It's 0.000039683% of the live stream. So he's used that as his evidence, as his base, to make an accusation against Jeff Mead and Jeff Mead's followers that they're perverts and pedophiles. But let's look at what I've produced. Brian Smith's an ice cream man. They have a bit of a reputation. He comes to the Philippines and he hangs around with all these people that get all these accusations and allegations made against them in regards to people attracted to minors, I think the PC word is. You know, these allegations and accusations might not be true, but they were made against these people. But there's also the facts. I believe that the criminal record is Gary Martin's. I believe the truth of Uncle Rob paying money and them sending him photos. And that's true. It's been on the internet. Dave's comments are true. The photo of the naked person being sent is true. Brian Smith not paying, or at least paying not what he promised to pay, is true. So there's a lot of truths there. A lot of truths, and then a lot of accusations and allegations. But that's a lot of that's an accumulation of a lot of people with the detrimental accusations and whatever about their characters that Brian Smith's accumulated since he's been in the Philippines. Take my last video and look at all the scams that is I pointed out. So in just probably over 5 years or something, look at all the people that is accumulated that have had these accusations and facts against them, and all the scams that have been is attracted. You know, is it the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire? You know, you got to consider that. But he's prepared to go on and make 2 videos, not 1, 2 videos against Jeff Mead with that much evidence. But when you look at Brian Smith, the people he's associated with since he's been in the Philippines, and the attention that they've attracted. I'm not saying it's all true. Again, it's accusations and some of it. So you've got to ask yourself, an ice cream man from the US travels to the Philippines and accumulates all these friends. There might be nothing in it. That's for people to realise, but most people don't accumulate that many friends that attract that attention. So Brian Smith can make accusations with no evidence. So people can make accusations when there is evidence, surely. Now, Brian Smith in both videos says that Jeff Mead's followers are all perverts and pedophiles, because they said they are the same as Jeff Mead if they follow or support Jeff Mead. So what does that make Brian Smith's followers? Are they even worse because of all this evidence? Are they worse because Brian Smith has been friends with all these people that have attracted attention that he accuses Jeff Mead of? So how can any of them honestly believe Brian Smith's comments about Jeff Mead if they don't believe what I've just said about Brian Smith? It's unfathomable that these people just suck in every word that Brian Smith says. It just does go to show that they're not independent thinkers. They're just sponges. They're just sheep, clueless, followers of someone that they want to follow. Most of them only follow him because they don't like Jeff Mead. I'm sure of that. And most of them only make those comments because they don't like Jeff Mead. But if you look at what Brian Smith said about Jeff Mead and called him a pedo, and if you look at it independently, look at it with an open mind, and you think about all the people that Brian Smith's been associated with, how can you justify following Brian Smith? Well, I'm going to leave it there. I'm sure people will want to make some comments. Try and make the comments not defamatory. If you're going to mention offences or anything, maybe put the word alleged in front of it so that doesn't attract unwanted attention. I think the people that follow this channel and Jeff Mead's channel and the other channels are very intelligent people that think for themselves. So I would expect some mentally challenged people to probably come over and make some comments from Brian's channel, but just try and keep the comments civil and thoughtful. You know, you get these wankers that come over and say you're just a liar. They won't put in why you're a liar or anything. That's why they get deleted. But remember, if you're going to make an accusation against someone, put an alleged unless there's evidence to say it. That just keeps people off my back and probably your back as well. And thank you if you've got to this stage. It's been a long video, I understand that, but I think I needed it to get my point across. I tried to cut it down, but it didn't really come across properly. So thank you for listening, and see you next time. Thank you.